The story begins with a man named Joe who was a manager in a company. One day, when he opened his eyes, he saw that he was locked in a jail-like building. He didn't know how he got here. There were high walls around him, a metal door in front of him, and a stone wheel in the middle of the room. The poor Joe was scared and started begging for help, but the prison guard in the room told him to shut his mouth. Then Joe went to another prisoner and asked the man what was going on. The man said that Joe was given a drug that made him feel very sad for a few days. He told him name Nick, and then he advised Joe to rest, because tomorrow's day is going to be very difficult. Joe didn't understand how to get out of here. And then the guard threw a little food and water bottle through the hole in the door. Joe immediately ran towards him and explained to the guard that his wife was pregnant, and that's why he has to go out. But the guard didn't listen to him and closed the hole. This hurt Joe's hand. After this, Joe tied a bandage on his hand and started eating. Then, in the evening, he suddenly saw a light on the wall. And then a computerized voice told him that he was welcome in the advanced career training program. Joe still didn't understand anything, so he asked Nick, and he found out that this was a place like a jail built by their company where many people like Joe are brought from the office for bad work. Then the next morning, Joe got more food, and then his eyes fell on the ground where a human skull was pressed. Joe got very scared and once again reached the net and asked Nick if someone had died there. Then Nick told him that many people had died while working there. Joe did not understand how the company could do this with them. Nick said that before joining the company, they had signed a contract in which they had given the approval for the program. No one ever read the whole contract, and now they will have to suffer the punishment. After this, the computerized voice said that Joe would have to turn this stone wheel from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. After every round, he will get a point, and he will have to complete 50 points in a day or he will be punished. The prisoner who completes fewer cycles must die. Joe again begged to go home, but Nick said that it was of no use. There was no other way, so Joe went to work. It wasn't easy to turn such a heavy wheel, but Joe put his all powers on the line and completed 100 rounds by the end of the day. Then he fell asleep tired and woke up when he heard a prisoner screaming because he was being punished for his death. The next morning, Joe was eating while talking to Nick. Nick found out that Joe had done 100 rounds yesterday. Nick advised him not to do so much work, otherwise the company would get him more work. But Joe thought that he would get rid of it soon after working hard and would be able to meet his pregnant wife again. Later, when he was working, he remembered the day when he gave his wife Kate a new house as a gift, which made Kate very happy. The next day, Kate asked Joe to take a leave from the office and go to the doctor, but Joe was hesitant. Kate was very sad about this, because Joe gave more importance to work than family. Then the alarm rang and Joe saw that he had completed 150 rounds today. After that, the guard called him to the door and asked him to take his clothes off. Joe thought that he would be killed. Joe fell down, but the guard didn't listen to him and opened the door. Then Joe was brought to a pool. He realized that he was only called to take a bath. The days went by and Joe continued to work hard in the scorching sun. He started drinking more water because of the high sun, and soon his bottle was empty. He asked for more water from the guard, but Nick said that he only gets enough water to keep him alive. He continued his work despite being tired. He remembered that he had promised Kate that she would pay the hospital bill as her wish. Finally, he fell down at the end of the day and the AI said that he had completed 370 rounds. While resting, Joe saw that Alex's name was written under the handle. He asked Nick and he told him that Alex was the only one who was successful in getting out of here alive. Then the company gave a pen as a prize, but it was useless for Joe, so Joe started screaming in anger. The next day, he saw that he had to complete 370 rounds instead of 50 per day. He said that how would he complete so many rounds with injured hands? But that computerized voice said that humans are more capable of doing work than their thoughts. Then he saw that he didn't get any points even after one round. On this computer said that he had been punished, according to which he will get 1 point after 2 rounds, which means he has to do 370 rounds. Now he had no choice, so he quit the job. But in the end, his body left him and he fell. Then he heard that he didn't complete today's task. Then Kate's picture came on the wall and AI said that if Joe didn't work, then Kate would have to come here too. Joe got scared and promised to complete the target tomorrow. The next day, Joe pushed the handle from his coat so that it wouldn't hurt his wound. And then he started spinning the wheel with all his efforts. After a while, his mind started playing weird games with him. He was laughing at himself. But Joe didn't pay attention to this, and finally he completed his target just before 10 p.m. Poor Joe was tired and went to sleep. In the morning, AI showed him his wife and son's video, which made Joe's eyes water because he was far away from them. Later, he asked Nick how Alex got out of here. First, Nick didn't want to tell him, but when he found out Joe's child, he decided to help Joe. He told Joe to look at the place behind the pillar where the camera was unable to see him. Joe went and saw that there was a ball-shaped mark in the wall. Actually, it was a hollow place, and soon Joe started digging it with his pen. Days passed and Joe kept on making the hole bigger in the empty space. Finally, the hole got so big that he could easily get out. Joe went inside and thought there must be a way here, but then the guard found him and beat him a lot. When he opened his eyes, he saw that the hole was filled again and he was punished for completing 1,000 rounds. Nick was there to support him, so his legs were being cut off. He was in so much pain that he couldn't work. This made Joe feel bad and he started thinking of doing something. But Nick said that AI can't understand human beings. Then it turns out that Nick had designed this jail by working in the IT cell of the company. Then Joe thought of a plan, and he said that if no prisoner went to work, then everyone's score would be equal, and then the computer would not be able to punish anyone. Joe convinced all the prisoners to stop working. The day started early, but no one worked. But as the day ended, the AI announced that all the prisoners having 0 points would be killed. All the prisoners started working and Joe's plan failed. Nick asked him to turn the wheel or he would be killed. Joe completed a round before the end of time, but he felt bad for Nick because he couldn't do anything without his legs. That night, Nick revealed that he is not Nick but Alex. He also tried to run away from the hole in the wall, but the guards caught him and put him in another room. He hid this from Joe because he thought that maybe someone would succeed in getting out of the hole this time. In the end, they said goodbye to each other and Joe went to sleep. Then Joe hears Alex's screams of pain as he nears his death. Then the next day, the AI showed him another video, in which his son was now walking. Seeing this, Joe realizes how long he has been in prison, and he got up in anger. He started abusing the company, but then the computer said that such behavior would not be tolerated, and Joe will be sentenced to death. After that, several guards came here and prepared the lethal vaccine for injection. Here the guards started talking badly about Joe's wife and his son, which made Joe angry, and he started beating the guard mercilessly. Then the AI said that the guard couldn't do his job, so now if Joe kills the guard, he will be sent to the next level. Hearing this, Joe stopped and started screaming that he was not a monster. The company wanted him to become a monster, but Joe would not let that happen. Then Joe suddenly returned to reality and saw that he was sitting in his office. It turns out that it's just an advanced virtual simulation with employees connected to a machine through head-mounted devices. Shortly after, an HR personnel bearing a resemblance to the guard approaches Joe and reveals that although he felt that months had passed, it had only been an hour. In reality, it means that Joe's son hasn't been born yet and everything is as it was. The man further discloses that Joe's inability to secure a promotion was not due to a lack of competence, but because he hadn't been adequately challenged to do better challenged him in the virtual world, and his performance excelled way more than they expected. As a result, they finally decided to promote Joe to the next level. In the aftermath, the HR representative escorts Joe to his new office cabin, acquainting him with his new targets and productivity expectations. He also has Joe sign a non-disclosure agreement, stipulating that he cannot share any details about his experience with anyone. Once the man departs, Joe contacts his wife and his eyes well up upon hearing her voice. He expresses his love for her and his unborn child before hanging up the call. The movie ends with Joe vowing to burn down the entire Mallard company. If you enjoyed the captivating story of this movie, don't forget to show your support by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more exciting content. Your likes and subscriptions make a world of difference, helping us bring you more great stories in the future. Thank you for being a part of our community.